Hello, sports fans. Welcome on in. It is the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 792.1 FM. We are proud to be a part of Utah's ESPN radio network. It's the Sean O'Connell Show, and I'm not Sean. I'm Scott Mitchell. I'm filling in today. Oh, boy. And I love filling in. Love Sean's show. I just did my show, the Down and Dirty, so let's keep it going. Lots and lots to talk about today, of course. We're even we're bringing the enemies in, and keep your friends close and your enemies even closer. That's right. We got some folks coming in from down south, and we're gonna get some a tanking update. We got a lot of fun things going on. Of course, the Utes play tonight. It's a big day, Look, if you want to listen to us, you want to see us, you can. We're streamed. You go listen live tabs on ESPN700sports.com. The ESPN 700 app, smart speaker, just tell it to play ESPN 700. And, of course, on YouTube at ESPN 700 Sports Utah. Of course, get us on the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. This opening segment is brought to you by Top Local Roofing. If you need a new roof or repairs, you need our friend Justin Cunningham at Top Local Roofing. They are certified by the Better Business Bureau and work all along the Wasatch Front. Top Local Roofing, 801-839-4501. And for our show, the show, of course, is brought to you by Les Schwab Tires. Every day is brought to you by Les Schwab Tires. Les Schwab has the tires, wheels, and accessories for whatever your drive. Stop by your local Les Schwab today, and their professionals will get the job right the first time. I don't know if you guys know this. I don't know if anyone knows this. I'm sure you do. Maybe you don't. It's 3/11. Not 9/11. It's 3/11. 3/11, of course, was the day that old Rudy Gobert got COVID and shut down the entire world. All thanks to Rudy Gobert. If Rudy Gobert hadn't touched the microphones, none of the COVID stuff would have happened. But he had to go touch the microphones, and it was just a karma thing. It was just a karma thing. Anyways, Rudy Gobert, 5 years ago today was when the NBA shut down, started a trickle effect, and boy, was it was it a ride? Really, probably the most bizarre ride life of my entire life, no question. And I was actually on the air. We were watching this unfold live as it happened, and it's so surreal. And when you live in the world of sports, you think it's kind of the world. Like in my time in professional, like you're so locked into it that you don't really realize there's a whole big world out there. And when the whole big world kind of shakes its fist at you and says, hold on here, there's a lot more important than you. It's a very sobering event. And that was a very sobering time for so many people. The thing about it that I guess is the most disturbing to me is, okay, the world is falling apart. Like mass hysteria everywhere. We don't know what this is. We don't know how it's going to end up. Very panicky moment. And the very most important thing to everyone was toilet paper. Like it baffles my mind.
It was almost its own currency.
Oh, it was insane,
Scott. It's crazy, the TP shortage in the Costco's and Wincos and everywhere else.
I bought into it. Okay, I went out and I stood in line and I found places that I could get my toilet paper, and I got as much as I could, and I saw people gaming the system. They were only allowed so many, and they kind of gamed the system a little bit because, heaven forbid we'd run out of toilet paper. Anyways, that was a crazy thing. All right, it is Legal Tampering Day Part 2. The second day of our legal tampering. We still have we have the whole day today to tamper away. So you're out there, go tamper, whatever that means. And of course, the NFL is in full swing, and some crazy stuff. We heard a lot of it here on the Sean O'Connell Show yesterday as it was happening live, and then some things happened after the show and this morning, and just a crazy time in the NFL. Now, I want to tell you something. Are you ready for this? This is my opinion, but I think it's fairly accurate. At least in my brain, it's accurate. Hopefully, you might agree with me to some extent, or at least I can convince you of my position. So I'm going to try to do that. I think the very biggest winner in free agency, who do you think it was? Do you think it's Josh Allen and his $250 million guarantee, or is it that I don't know? Is it Sam Darnold that he got kind of paid? Is it Justin Fields that he's got another opportunity? I believe the biggest winner in free agency so far in the NFL right now is Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson. Yes. Former Cougar great. Speaking of keeping our enemies close, Scott.
Yes.
Well done by you.
Well, it's interesting because it's like the Wilson family they're tormented. They don't know they're a hot mess. Okay, they got a dad that played at Utah, and they all Utah people, and then of course Zach goes to BYU, so now they're BYU people, and then Isaac is a Utah guy, and then he almost became a BYU guy, and then he came back to Utah. It's a hot mess. But here's why I think Zach Wilson is the biggest winner of free agent. I'll tell you who's number 2, Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones
is number 2.
Going to my Colts, Scott.
Yes, and I'm going to give you hope. I'm going to give everyone here hope or something.
Yeah, and just real quick, early reports to probably to your next point here, and how big a deal it could be for the Colts and Daniel Jones. Their early reports are that he was signed to compete with Anthony Richardson for the starting job. He's not signed as a backup.
No, I'll explain all this.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we go. Okay, Zach Wilson, and this is really hard. It's really hard when you're the second pick in the draft or the first pick in the draft and you kind of bomb. And when you bomb, you might get some looks. Okay, you might, like he got a look with the Denver Broncos. And very early on, he wasn't going to be competing to be the backup.
You're talking. You say looks like chances to play, not like sideways looks.
No.
Coaches.
So hear me out. Yeah, just let me.
Sorry,
you
go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So Zach Wilson, because he was drafted so high, a lot of teams are going to like him. So if he fails with the Jets, he's going to get some other opportunities. He got one in Denver, but he really didn't get much of an opportunity. He got a lifeline. He got paid. He got a job. And still the perception of Zach Wilson is a bust. And it's like, we're not sure. But we'll give him a tryout. We'll give him a chance. Just like Sam Darnold, right? Sam Darnold kind of goes, he goes to be a backup guy. And then lo and behold, after his third or fourth team, boom, he strikes it with the Minnesota Vikings because he wasn't. J.J. McCarthy gets injured, and now Sam Darnold got paid. He got paid. It's just a lot of money. Okay, it's not like crazy, top tier guy money, but it's a pretty good deal. And Zach Wilson, and you look at a guy like Alex Smith. And I think Alex Smith did such a brilliant job in his career when he kind of bombed or was replaced or struggled with the 49ers. And he stayed. Like he took a reduced salary. He stayed there because you don't want to leave or get let go or whatever, and then you're perceived as you didn't work out. Daniel Jones, the same thing. The perception is Daniel Jones is a bust. Okay? So Zach Wilson goes off to Miami. And I'm just telling you, if you could place yourself as a quarterback anywhere, and I don't know that there's a better situation to be in for Zach Wilson than to go play for the Miami Dolphins. Because we all know Tua is going to get hurt, right? He's a slipping on the sideline and falling down injury from being done playing football. I mean, he's so close to being done, and there's a high probability that whoever is the other quarterback at Miami is going to play. And so Zach Wilson goes to Miami One with a real potential of playing. He's not a backup guy. And no one, just so you know, nobody wants to go to a situation and go, I'm here hoping the starter gets hurt. Like, you don't want to be in that. You don't want to be it's just bad karma to wish ill of another person. And it's a hard thing to be in. It's a harsh reality of the NFL where you're just like, okay, come on, Now another side of it that's brutal that people don't realize. I'm going down a little rabbit hole here for a minute. Another thing that people don't realize is when you're the backup, you're constantly watching the quarterback. You're not watching like everyone. The quarterback throws the ball and everyone watches the ball. You watch the quarterback because he's getting creamed after he throws the football, and you're like, okay, is he going to stand up? Am I going to go in the game? And so you're constantly on the state of alert, and it's brutal. And I did it for 3 years, right? 16 games plus playoff games. You're just on constant alert, and you're SEAL Team 6 just ready to go. And then you'll go games, you'll go years, and you never play. So you have pregame jitters for 3 years. Like, you never get over them. Like, it's the worst thing in the world.
It's always today could be the day. This week could be the week, and most times.
And you know how you feel before everyone's like, you're okay. I mean, I want to, I'm gonna, and so you're all jacked up to go play, and you never play, and it's a really hard thing, but in Miami, it's just like there's a real possibility Zach Wilson's going to play significant time. Now, and that's a huge thing. It's a huge thing. The other thing for Zach Wilson is the coach. And we're going to talk about this a little later. But this coach, Mike McDaniel, is a guy who really is almost like a quarterback whisperer. Like, he's a guy, he's a different dude. And I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love it. And he's just the right temperament. He's the right situation. He's the right person for Zach Wilson. Like I'm just telling you, Zach Wilson probably saved his career with this decision right here. It's so huge because you don't want to go to a place that is a bad organization. You don't want to go back to another New York Jets situation. Now, here's the other thing that I like for Zach Wilson. And I think it's the same thing his brother needs. Zach Wilson lived a charmed life. Like he was the guy at Corner Canyon. He was a great player. He was highly sought after. He goes to BYU and kind of, very smoothly turns himself into the guy at BYU. Has a, the COVID year when no one was playing and BYU the only team playing in America, he was having an exceptional year.
Hey, you look like he wasn't a Heisman finalist, but he looked like a Heisman finalist.
Yeah.
That kind of a year.
Right. He was very good year. Right. So he never had to fight. He never got kicked in the teeth. He never had to battle. It was always, and it's never easy. And I'm just saying he never really had to kind of pick himself up off the turf in a very humiliating fashion, very uncomfortable fashion. And you need that toughness. You need to be refined and forged and hardened by your experience, and to go to New York in like the really, and to come out of it, and almost instantly, and then to lose and go through all that was huge. Kind of really not guy was just and Bo Nix, and he's not going to get it. What he's going to get is he's going to get to work with Sean Payton. Now, there's an interesting did the same thing. When you don't ever play. not messing around. And Daniel Jones has kind of got that same thing from when he went to the gun, which I hate, by the way, because you're always under the gun, even when things are really good. Yeah. And he goes, I had to have that mindset. I could never be comfortable. I could never settle. I could never. And I'm like, you're a right? but then I went, wait a minute. Even the long, it doesn't matter what position you're in.
Feel that
you've never arrived. And so, and you competing every single day. And the Indianapolis Colts says, we're not messing around. We hope that by bringing Daniel to turn you into a top-tier quarterback, Anthony Richardson to have you fight and and then Daniel Jones goes, man, I want to. I think I'm better. I think I deserve a shot. Like, which one of these is going to have the biggest fire underneath them to be the guy? And I'll just tell you right now, the guy who has the best chance is Daniel Jones, because he's essentially the back, and he's more favorable and gonna and be positive. Mentally, the just experience-wise, all of these. Oh, man, it is just, it's so good. Times get a fresh start. Maybe you're just maybe you're in La La Land. Maybe you're stupid. We don't know. Or there's a third.
Oh, there
option.
Is a third
option. Yes.
Door number 3.
And the third option is this. They realize, and there are coaches out there that are in the business of coaching just to have a retirement, just to have a long-term career. And the magic number is 15 years. So if you're the Minnesota Vikings, and I don't know if Kevin O'Connell's on the hot seat. I don't know if his assist, he's on a hotter seat. He's been there for a bit, and they it looked like they'd really. But bring in a new quarterback, that gives you like 2 years of grace. Everything out. They've he went through, he went through Sam, he went through Kirk Cousins, and kind of, and so now it's like, okay, if we bring this new guy in, we can talk to management and say, oh, we don't know what he's going to be. We drafted him. A lot of young players seem to play well. Jaden Daniels, C.J. Stroud. Not going to talk about this. They don't want to admit this. But if you sat down one of these coaches in a quiet corner, maybe in a bar, and he got loosened up, a little bit, and he says, man, I'm just trying to get my retirement, to get 15.
Just kick the can down the road.
Thing in the NFL. It really is.
Interesting. Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see AJ McCarthy is that guy, or they're gonna need to look for another option.
They didn't even get through training camp. I mean,
yeah.
I felt the same way about the Kansas City Chiefs, and then I was like, "This is Patrick Mahomes good," and then is he? Just kept getting better and better, and won Super Bowl and Super Bowl. All right, let's take a break. But when we come back, I can't wait. I gotta go talk to Coach Gordy. Gordy Chiesa, of course, is going to join us. We're going to talk a little bit about the NBA. This is the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 792.1 FM. All righty, sports fans, welcome. Sean, ESPN 792.1 FM. A little bit away from us right now. It's a secret location. We're not allowed to talk about it. So I'm filling in for him. I'm Scott Mitchell. And, of course, I host the Down and Dirt, ESPN 700. I get you all warmed up for Sean, and he brings it home. And I'm also on the Fan as well. So I'm on a couple times a day. But Gordy Chiesa joins us. How are you?
Scott, I'm doing fine. Thank you.
I'm so glad to hear that. And I'm glad that you're actually on the air here. So, about, the Jazz game last night with Boston. It's the second time in a row they've come back from 20 points. They made it competitive in the end, but they lost. Kind of where are you with the Jazz this year and kind of finishing out the season? Like what's the very best scenario for the Jazz to finish out the season and make it a success?
I'm asking this question often, Scott, on the street. Was it a lost season? The answer is no. It's a season of really player development. And now to go from this season to never happen again, to have definitely tangible results, meaning what? More wins. And so, right. And they're sitting out and they're playing the long game of getting a high draft pick. I mean, they have their own pick, which should be, I think, if the lottery guards are on the Jazz favor, should be in the top 4, the worst, and then it's a Tebow pick. Scott, Monday, May 12th in Jazz basketball will be. That's the NBA draft lottery selection order, and that's when all the things come together of where you're picking. So that's where they are right now. It's the long term. In the meanwhile, though, it's been absolutely painful. Last night's game, and Jazz fought hard. Celtics by 50 in the fourth quarter, and it wasn't lack of effort, just that the Celtics had just too much at the end, and they knocked them out.
You know, you talk about it being hard, right? And I think people, have a mature attitude. But I look at Will Hardy, and he's a young coach. He's kind of been put in a challenging situation. How do you get through it? How do you keep your mind sharp? How do you not get dragged down by this? Because we all know coaches, players, everyone who plays any kind of sport or coaches, extremely competitive.
Very much, and that's the challenge. So your loved ones around you being forcing about what future out versus what the present. Almost like you up. Now, if you're a player, it's totally different now. And the reason why is that, God forbid, if one of the Jazz veterans get hurt next year, and they set out a lot of games this year, which they could have played, and suddenly they have a ripped Achilles or a torn ACL, and now they're missing back-to-back years in their prime. And so that's when it gets so interesting, where the players, they want to play, absolutely, and because that's how they're judged, and that's where it gets so interesting, where I could play, I'm not playing. Franchise asks me to for long-term goals. Now, if you're a player, you view it differently, and if you're an agent, you view it differently
Sure.
also.
Yeah.
So there's so many different components as far as winning and losing. Scott, you know so well,
where is the balance with these players? You know, you sit starters are a decent number of, and you know, how much do they have to play so that they keep their form? But is there a kind of have the conversation and say, you know, because the big argument with load management is, well, it just pushes their careers out, longer careers than they would have playing night. Conversation with the players, say, hey, these games, these years where we're kind of tough, and will just be added on to the end of your career longer.
No, the answer is because everyone's different. Body, also the mental focus. So you know when it's time to you're not ready to play is when your mental preparation is lesser. And so who said you're 36, 37 years old that you're going to be prepared mentally to play because you set out 10 years earlier as far as missing some games? So much of the dynamics in the present tense. Who's around you? Teammate? Who's your living? There's so many variables, and you know you played. I've coached for 50 years. Is that we both seen it. There's every person's different, even though they're the same, and that's the dilemma that most professional franchises have. How do you keep the veterans in, but also rest their bodies? And case by case.
No, I get that because you know I was like, man, I got to play all the time. Practice, you know, because your body just gets so tuned in, and you feel like when you're sitting or you get injured and you take some time off, it just really throws your timing, your feel for every. I totally get that and understand that. It's just I just find it so fascinating this whole puzzle, you know, of trying to figure out how to keep yourself so competitive, because for a team as I would imagine it's so hard to sign a big time free agent. So getting and building through the draft is such a high priority for this team, and put yourself in a position to get the highest you can. But I would imagine has to be job one.
Yeah, very much job one. Add to this. Oh, by the way, the San Antonio Spurs, the model franchise for the last 35 years, with Wembanyama, who was a franchise-altering player, got hurt about a month ago. The Spurs are heading for the sixth straight year not making the playoffs.
Wow.
So Scott Pitt fell, not making the playoffs for 6 years in a row. Pitch and about in the NFL, there's so fewer games that every game absolutely matters. And usually, even in the NBA, with the player's point of view, when you sit out the game, when you play the next game, it sounds saying it, but you're almost like anxious, and they do a physical because you try so hard because you didn't play last game. Versus there's a rhythm of playing both on and off ball, and that allows you to play at the highest level. And usually speaking, when you're focused and you're in rhythm, versus not playing for a few games or not playing because of injuries, and then the game speeds up to you, and your mind then takes over and negative sometimes.
Yeah, it's funny how just all that stuff kind of how it impacts you, and it's so true. And just being calm and learning how to let the game come to you is it's such a vital thing, and especially when everything's so frenetic, as are just playing so hard and having I talk about just that calm and learning how to do that, and it's a skill that you have to hone, you have to practice, you have to develop.
And you go through it also, and your teammates should help you.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when you're a younger player on the basketball court or in the gridiron, your teammates have been through this before, so they know exactly what's happening in your mind. And that's when your are calming influences on you, and you perform better. So it's that balance where you want to have veteran players that play young and young guys that play like veterans. And it's that unbelievable line that the better franchises, they're going to win the championship, will be deep in. I just, the Cavaliers. So, Scott, the Cavaliers, they've won 14 straight games. Former Jazz All-Pro player Donovan Mitchell is leading the charge. At age 28 now, he's mature. It's not, in his world, it's not about only scoring. It's about what? Getting his teammates more involved and being an encourager. So I call that an E&E, where you're an encourager with your teammates, but you enforce what? The playing rules on the court. Hey, we swing the ball. We play help-to-help with defense. We crack down in mismatch rebounding situations. And then we give ourselves up in transition to commit a smart foul. These are all the things culturally that the teams that are going to go deep in the playoffs, either this year or historically, they perform as a unit. And that's dominant right now. The Cavaliers, which is a fascinating story. Last night, the Jets were in second, and they think that they're going to win the whole thing again, the Celtics. And that could happen. But if history repeats itself, there's been 6 different NBA champions years. 2019, Raptors. 2020, Lakers in the bubble. 2021, 2022, Warriors. 2023, Nuggets. 2024, Celtics. 2025.
Don't you think the NBA wants that? I mean, they want to have that kind of parity a little bit, maybe more like that you don't have these buying champions that more teams have an opportunity. Is it something you think creates more interest in the NBA?
Oh, very much, Scott, absolutely. And also, who's to say, because you have the most talented players with the highest payroll, you're going to win? Left out a thing called chemistry. See, I can't explain chemistry all the time. All I know, I can see when a team doesn't have it.
Yeah. See,
it's a fine line.
Yeah.
Only the people that, you for a lifetime, myself for a lifetime, well, you can sense it around you when you play on the team bus above sea level, 35,000 feet on the airplane, in the hotel lobby getting ready for the game, on the elevator walking down getting ready for the game. Treat the ball boy in the locker room. These are all little things that create this unbelievable together as a group. And so when someone's struggling in a game, they become encouraged versus what? Getting on the guy in a negative way, and that guy can't perform even the next game.
It's interesting. So as you're talking about this chemistry and Donovan Mitchell and how, he's kind of, he's elevating these and enforcing. It brought back to my mind Michael Jordan, and it was like Michael Jordan started winning championships in his career when he started elevating guys around him and making them better. Is that what you think is the difference with? Because I was going to ask you that today actually about Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs, and is that a kind of a next progression or something? Oh gosh, we should really actually take the Cavs serious.
Oh, very much. Yes, that's an understatement because they saw around them where if we play as a unit, we can do great success. And you're only as good as your team goes forward. And so with Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell's sidekick, he gets him more involved. And Max Strus and Evan Mobley, who's this young, unbelievable polo stick rebounder, shot blocker, and Jared Allen, that wonderful trade for DeAndre Hunter, who's like a sixth man from the VO Hawks, who can play defense, makes enough open threes, and keeps everybody second unit together. And so in their team building, it's really been good for them. And that's why there's always there should be really a maturation between management, coaching, and players. And when it happens, as far as a maturation where everybody's working together, that's the plus talent. You need talent to win, certainly. But in the NBA, times the talent is usually almost one or two incredible players, say in the NFL, Mahomes and those guys. I get it. So, but usually speaking, most of the players and teams are the same. What happens is what? Chemistry, coaching, attention to detail, things that build a oneness helps a team win games.
Okay. Yourself, a Jazz fan, seeing the success Donovan Mitchell's been having, knowing that he was with the Jazz, knowing where they are today, because you our guy, man, kept him here. How do you reckon where the Jazz are today with the loss of a guy like Donovan Mitchell?
Well, if you're a Jazz fan, you never recover from it, from a fan. But from a franchise point of view, it's a decision that the economics of it wasn't what worth of keeping him. So it was more of an economic/business decision. For the Cavaliers, they made the opposite decision where we think it's worth it for us because right now we're floundering, and this guy could really help us. And for the Cavs' point of view, let's add to that. They also changed coaches. So last year with the Cavaliers, when they lost in the playoffs, they moved on Coach Bickerstaff, and they brought in Kenny Atkinson, and he's done a wonderful job as far as turning it around. So as always, there's ownership, there's management, there's the players, the coaches, the fans, the TV partners, which is a huge factor in this as far as television. So as far as promoting certain teams and play, and that equals now the visual of that. This is our guy. So as the Jazz go forward, they have to keep developing, quote, plural, who they are right now. I have an instinct that the one or two of them here right now, and these people are really talented players. Don't you love, like, say, Colin Sexton?
Yeah.
His best role probably on a 50-win team. Jazz go forward, Lord willing, because he's very good. That guy plays hard. And so he'd be a classic example of a guy that has a certain skill that you want to have. Larry, not forget, leisure, I call it, where 2 years ago he made the All-Star team. And so he's another guy that creates a mismatch for opposition, and he's a very, very talented player.
You got a list for us today, Gordy?
Yes. I'm getting ahead of the curve, Scott, just like you
did. Let's do it.
This is the NBA career leaders in most made three-point shots. And so let's state the obvious for 1 second. Steph Curry's going to set a record. He needs two more as far as his milestone. So this is the top 10. And quickly, the first year of the NBA three-point shot was the 1979-80 season. So if my math's correct, this is the 46th season. Here's some quick shot metrics. The corner three is 22 feet. The at the arc line three is 23 feet and 9 inches. And if you're an oldster like myself, the red, white, and blue ball, the three-point line, 5 feet radius.
Oh.
Here we go. The top 10. Number 10, Vince Carter, 2,290 made threes. Number 9 all time, Paul George, 2,349. Number 8, former Jazz man for 4 years, Kyle Korver, 2,450.
Wow.
Number 7, he's hurt right now with a pull groin. He plays a Lakers 7th all time, 2,542. Oh, by the way, this is 22nd NBA season. Number 6, TNT analyst does a great job, Reggie Miller, 560 triples. Number 5, used to be the Warriors, one of the Splash Brothers, goes to the Mavs now, Klay Thompson, 5th all time, 2,000. Number 4, the pride of Weber State in Oakland, California, Dame Lillard's 4th all time, most made threes with 2,790. Number 3, I had the privilege to coach him when I coached the Seattle Supersonics, Ray Allen, 2,973. Quickly, the 2nd all-time most made three. He plays for the Clippers. He's the only southpaw on this list. James Harden has made 3,120, and number one, the world's greatest shooter of all time, both catch and shoot, both off the dribble. He needs 2 to break 4,000. Steph Curry has made, as we speak now, this second, 3,998. Last point. What about in jazz basketball? The leader of most made 3 points in franchise history, Joe Ingles, that also golden arm and swag. Joe made 1,071.
Jingle Joe. All right, there you have it. Thanks. Yes, thank you so much.
I call him the Aussie with a swag.
We love it. All right, so fun to talk to you, Gordy. Really appreciate it. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Scott. Peace out.
All right, take a break. We come back. It's time for some hot lunch. This is ESPN. Whoa, wait a second. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. ESPN 792.1 FM welcomes the Counting Crows to Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater August 21st. Tune into the drive all for your chance to win. All right, we're going to go to a break now. It is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. It is the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 792.1 FM. I'm Scott Mitchell, filling in for Sean. Our day, it's legal tampering day. Finagle, whatever you want, it's legal. But it officially has to happen by 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. local time. It is the hot lunch. And right now, we're going to spend our hot lunch with none other than Doug Burgoyne from Farmer and Chemist. If you're struggling with muscle soreness, arthritis, or restless nights, Farmer and Chemist has the CBD solutions for you and your pet. They're locally owned on historic Main Street in Midville, and they're also online at farmerandchemist.com. Welcome to the program, Doug. How you doing?
Scott, it's great to be with you again today. Thank you.
Hey, I want to thank you. I showed up, and there was a little gift here and a little gift bag from Farmer and Chemist. So I appreciate the gift. Thank you very much.
Right on. We take care of our friends.
Look at you.
And hope, pains, and everything else we've got going on that we can offer some relief.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the different products, because I have two different products here. I got the gummies. I got a little ointment. So how do you determine what goes where and when and how? How does that all work?
Yeah, it's a great question. For people who have joint pain, muscle, tight neck, those things, or rheumatoid arthritis, arthritis, then the problem is what you're looking for to relieve. Works quickly, about 5 or 10 minutes. You start to feel relief, and it's really amazing. And for sleepless nights, for high stress and anxiety causing problems, or solutions to problems when you're in a situation where you're having high anxiety, or if you're having sleep, or even worse, you can fall asleep and then you wake up thinking about Farmer and Chemist yummy gummies. CBD cannabinoids can help you get a better night's sleep and better rest so that you wake up refreshed the next day.
So, like, if you talk on the radio and you have a high stress job doing that, because you may sometimes go, "What the heck am I going to say today?" I don't the radio and actually talk freely and never have to worry about it.
You might talk more freely than you regret it. You might speak so freely.
Fired.
Fair amount of THC.
Okay.
So we recommend these for folks who are going to be for sure not making decisions until they get used to the product. And for folks who don't want THC, we also have a gummy for you, and that's called Gem. Gem is just like the others, highly packed with CBD as well as CBN to help you get a good night's sleep, but without the THC. So if you're a firefighter, a policeman, you work in the military, you operate heavy machinery, and you shouldn't be using THC, but still have that high environment. So, Scott, this is the one for you.
Okay.
A Gem, zero THC will get you through the day.
And that things that you customize. It's specific, specialized to what your issues are and what you actually need.
Absolutely. To the store. We still answer our phone. There's not a phone tree. You can speak to Jason or Ann or Jeff or myself or Cammie, and we're happy to answer any questions. And we'll help you find the right CBD product that's going to be best for you. And if you've got some other thing that's not for, we'll tell you that also. So we want to teach people about CBD and find the right thing to treat their problems.
What about my animal anxiety? Deal with pet.
It's so amazing. Pets get anxious. There's lots of people around during firework time, or there's just animals to begin with. Or they're aging, and it's a little bit harder for them to get up on the bed, get into the truck or the car. CBD for pets is really incredible at relieving inflammation and bringing that pep back into your animal's life. Tinctures that you can include in their food that are tasty, bacon flavored, or no flavor. And we also have great dog chews that are made from beef that the dogs really like, and they just eat them up and feel better every day, just like these help us. Scott, it's great.
If you have any kind of these issues, muscle soreness, arthritis, you're having a hard time sleeping, you in a high stress situation, animal, has some issues, go check out Farmer and Chemist. All right, so you can go to farmerandchemist.com. What's your address on Main Street in Midvale?
Yep, 7719 South Main. So right on the corner of Main Street and 7720 South.
And you have a phone number. What's
Well,
no, all good. Good. Go on. Yeah, sorry. Go on the website. Go to Main Street there in Midvale and check them out. Really appreciate your time. Good luck the rest of the day,
Right
Doug.
on. Yeah, and then don't forget ESPN online.
Love it. All right. Nice. Good discount. Go do it. All right. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
All right, folks. When we come back at the top of the hour, we're with our enemies. Jerem Jordan. I know Jerem. He's a good dude. He's the host at BYU Sports Nate. We're going to talk a little red and blue at the top of that. This will be a fun segment to chat with. This is the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 792.1 FM. Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. It is the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 792.1 FM. Proud to be part of Utah's ESPN Radio Network. I'm Scott Mitchell, filling in for Sean today. Is Legal Hearing Day Part 2. Kind of here, but it's kind of not, and everyone's signed, and we all know everything, but it officially doesn't happen for another, just a little over a day here. So you can legally tamper wherever you want. Knock yourself out. Go tamper away because it's legal. And we have given you permission. You can listen to the show here live, streaming on ESPN700sports.com, ESPN 700, the app. You can talk to your smart speaker. Just tell 700. And, of course, on YouTube, ESPN 700 Sports Utah, at ESPN 700 Sports Utah. And, of course, at the ESPN 700 app. Okay. I'm so excited about this next segment because it's the red and blue, which is part of a Big 12 on Noon, brought to you by Mountainland Supply. Visit mountainlandsupply.com. Joining us on the show is none other than Jerem Jordan, the host on the BYU Sports Nation. Jerem, welcome to the program. How's it going out there in basketball championship?
It's going great. Scott, great Kentucky, man. Filling in, I love it. It's going well so far. It's funny to see in Kansas City all the different teams that have showed up because they weren't sure if they'd be playing today. So a bunch of fans, Kansas fans are going to dominate. Iowa State fans have not shown up because they can drive down 2.5 hours. But some BYU fans, like a month and a half, there was a chance BYU was going to play today. Instead, they will bye, feeling good. They don't play till Thursday morning. But yeah, Kansas City's great. It's a good spot for the Big 12 tournament. Been here last year and this year in media day, so kind of know the barbecue joints I want to go to and some of the sites and whatnot. Obviously, church history out here and whatnot too. So it's a great spot for this tournament. Excited.
And you mentioned the double bye for BYU. Where what does that mean? What's a good tournament for the Cougars?
That's a great question because I think if BYU probably is going to match up with Iowa State again. What an epic game they played last week on Tuesday in Ames before that blizzard hit. I got stuck in Iowa like shoeless Joe Jackson in Field of Dreams. But if they beat Iowa State on Thursday morning, I think that's a good tourney. And frankly, Scott, if they lose, it doesn't really hurt them. I think they're a 5 or 6 seed in the NCAA tournament. They can't hurt themselves in this tournament, but they can help themselves. They beat Iowa State. I don't think it changes their seed line. But if they get to that final and they play Houston and they pulled off a big upset against Houston, now they've got a 10-game win streak and they've beaten Iowa State twice in 2 weeks and they've beaten Houston, a 1 seed. Now they can get firmly on the 5 line. They may fall to a thing. So we'll see. But a disappointment would be somehow BYU ends up as the 7. I don't think it'd be that disappointing, frankly. BYU lost to Iowa State on Thursday because BYU's buttered its bread already. They've had a great end of the regular season. I don't think they can hurt themselves a ton of this tournament. They can help themselves, but I think they'll be a 5 or 6. And now it's like, all right, winning to the Sweet 16 for a National Player of the Year because BYU's been to the Sweet 16 twice. You had Danny Ainge, you had Jimmer, and this is one of the best teams AM combined that BYU's ever had. Looking forward to this tourney. But frankly, the season won't be defined by this week. It'll be defined by next week.
There's been a really big jump in growth in success in the second year for BYU in the Big 12. The football team was really competing to go to the conference championship. Had some tough losses down the stretch, but they were there, and they were, arguably, maybe 2 teams in the conference by the end of the year, and then of course the basketball team, which I think is maybe even a bigger surprise considering the competitiveness of the Big. What is your observation as to what biggest change or this biggest jump in success? I know there's other sports and whatever, but come on, this is what we really care about. Are these two sports? So what do you think has been the big for BYU?
I think it took year one to assess the situation. For football, they had just too many guys that first year. They had 31 transfers by now, and it just for them 7 or 8 wins that first year. They were 5-7.
Yeah.
They should have beaten Oklahoma home. They throw a 99-yard pick six. They should have beaten Oklahoma State on the road big in that first half. They go to so they were close, but it created a hunger, Scott, that BYU could not satiate the next season. They were fired up. They felt they disrespected. That motivated them in a way that helped their preparation, and they had a talented team. And then in football, Hill did an amazing job in year two. Year one was great on the defense. Year two, they took a massive step forward. Jumped that offense. They were good. And then the special teams were unbelievable for BYU. 5 returns for touchdowns, and then Will Farron was obviously an unbelievable kicker. It was an amazing year as a team. They didn't have a star-studded team per se. Like, you had one guy to the combine. It speaks to the team that BYU has. And then year 2 in the Big 12 with basketball, and the step forward under Kevin Young was BYU got more talented. They brought in better players. Last year's team was very good. Got upset in the first round of the NCAA tournament. That was disappointing. Mark Pope bounces. Kevin Young obviously has been a great. Alex Jensen in a similar way. Great hire for Utah, by the way. And then the NIL is very competitive for the Cougars, as has been reported. So BYU is able to develop a guy like Richie Saunders, who came off the bench and averaged 10 points a game into the first-team All-League player as of yesterday. Most improved, huge feather in Kevin Young's cap. I can develop you. I can get you to the NBA. Richie Saunders is going to be an NBA player. And BYU's been they have the right coaches in the right spots, right investment in these programs, and BYU's headed in the right direction for sure.
So there's a lot of intertwining with coaches who have played at other schools. The whole Utah BYU rivalry, right? And it's in basketball, and it's in football, and you have people behind the scene. You have Jay Hill, you have Kalani, who coached at Utah. Of course, Kyle played. And and you talk about in basketball, kind of the same thing, Chris Burgess and some of this crossover. And then you have the players transferring from the other and back and forth, and it makes this rivalry intriguing. And I'm just curious, do you like the intertwine? Because I know some people at Utah are mad at some of those Utah coaches that went to BYU, and I kind of like all of it. I like the inbredness of this rivalry, and I think it's a really healthy thing. But I'm just curious, what's your take on where this rivalry is and headed now that these teams are in the same conference?
Beautiful. It's going to be back to what it was, which you have conference context, you have more games. In football, you guarantee to play that game. In basketball, you're going to play 2 games a year. Each team gets one in their gym, and listen, BYU's better than Utah in basketball. That doesn't mean they weren't going to split, right? Like that was a classic game in Salt Lake, and BYU felt like they had to play way better in the second matchup, which they did. That's part of the deal. And yeah, like you said, like Kalani Sitake's brother and Chad Lewis's brother, they played Utah. They're all-time Cougs. And Kyle, as a BYU guy, has established that Utah program to new heights with Urban and after Urban. So, yeah, I love it, man. I love when there's the crossover, the vitriol, the Chris Burgess on the BYU staff, and Hunter Erickson and Caleb Lohner and Jake Wallin was the commit. I love all that. I think it's great. Keba Keita and Keanu Iwasa, and yeah, Devin Kafusi, Kafusi left all this. I think it's a league. I love to compete. I love what Trey Stewart said. Hey, after the game Saturday, I hate Utah with a burning passion. It's like, yes, we don't actually hate each other in real life. It's just the sports part of it. We compete. We get after it. We're brothers in this pursuit. It'd be great to play a Big 12 football title game against each other, or in basketball, play each other in the Big 12 tournament, or both go to March Madness and represent the state. This is this is all good. I love it. I love the Crimson clash. I have feelings that are evoked. You know, when I see the Crimson, like it's great for the state. See that we're in the state.
So, of course, Alex Jensen, a big hire at Utah. People in young with the. Have you seen that play into success with the BYU basketball program? Having a coach that had NBA experience, does it translate as what doesn't work, and what have you?
Yeah, and it's not automatic that it's going to work per se, but I think Alex Jensen's a great coach. Like, frankly, he was always kind of brought up as a potential BYU coach. I know he didn't play at BYU, but like as an active coach who was at the highest level, he was that coaching for BYU. The number one guy that they targeted, Kevin Young, has been great. He's made it bow, as they say. Strength, nice, right? Conditioning.
Only in Provo can you do that.
BYU has more staffers that have worked in the NBA than hardly any other team in the country. They increase the staff, the individual attention and development they have in all aspects, from mental strength and conditioning, to actual coaches themselves that have been in the on NBA. Like, it's an incredible situation, not just with coaches, but the whole staff. And so Kevin Young, it's not just him, the whole staff, cream of the. It's not just the season they've had, but getting AJ DeBonta from the boosters has been incredible. And so BYU is headed in the right direction. I think the question mark with you isn't it, are they going to get a good coach? It is, will the NIL be there to compete with recruits? Because in the past couple of years, I had former BYU assistants saying, we need to get in the door, let alone convince them to come to our school. That's the next thing for Utah basketball is, will the NIL be there?
Yeah, and it certainly drives everything, right? The money, you talk about all these different resources, and they aren't free. So someone has to make the investment into the program, and it feels like that's happened with the basketball program at BYU. Is there that same level of commitment from the boosters to make that monetary investment into the football program, and knowing that BYU is relatively conservative in how it spends money in sports programs?
I think it's headed in a great direction, and I think BYU does a nice job. I think in basketball, BYU has the perception that they're kind of top five in that quote-unquote.
Right.
But football is interesting, too, because it's different from basketball in a lot of ways. Like, you need, 10 to 15 dudes to influence a team in the same way that you can get 3 or 4 in a basketball team.
Right.
Like, getting AJ DeBonta an individual, you can kind of focus in on that guy. And to the point, it's not just, you have to have the right coach and program and system and the right NIL. Like, AJ DeBonta in the coaching staff is immense, because he has said, I develop as a player, prepare for the NBA, right? Check. You have all these coaches that are at that level. Kevin Young was the top assistant on an NBA Finals in 2021. You have a G League head coach in Will Voigt, who left the Spurs G League team to be an assistant at BYU. You have all kinds of like that they're not just a random
right.
staff now, right? It's like, no, we've been in the pros. And NIL. And BYU doesn't have this rich history of winning in the NCAA tournament, yet says, I want to come there and I want to help us get to that next level. And who knows, maybe next week we're talking about BYU getting to a Sweet 16 for the first time since 2011. Or frankly, just winning an NCAA tournament game for the first time since 2011 outside of the first 4. That's the next step for BYU. It's recruited at the high level, and now they got to win. And frankly, the last 8 games from BYU have been unbelievable. They are a massive threat for a lot of brackets next week.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch. I'm curious about the AD search. Potential candidates. What do you hear? Where is BYU on that?
Yeah, they're gonna great candidates that certainly have been with the program for a long time. Help get it to where it is. There's some great outside BYU that would be interesting. I'm excited to see who it is, and then timing. BYU doesn't have to kind of figure out who that guy is
Right.
because Tom Holmoe's contract is through August. So they've got some time, and they're in a comfortable place. The programs are thriving. You mentioned, hey, there are other. BYU is one of the top athletic programs in the country. They give a crap about all of them, which is fun for me. Doing a daily show about BYU sports, and stuff, they're great. Listen, not every program is at that super high level. They're trying to get to that in women's basketball and baseball, notably. But man, is it fun to watch BYU sports right now. There's a lot of winning.
Yeah, I would imagine. I'll bet it's really fun. I'm not going to make that statement, but so Tyler Batty, where's his draft status that's looking at to get drafted here in a few weeks?
Yeah, Tyler Batty helped himself at the NFL Combine about a week ago. He did a nice job there, put up some good numbers, competed well. I think where he's going to thrive is he had good measurables, but just a great leader and a guy that, while he only had 1.5 sacks last year, he actually had more interceptions than sacks. Has the intangibles, has the leadership, has the experience. He's going to be great for your team, whether that's as an undrafted free agent or a day 3 pick. I also think that Caleb Etienne is going to be on a roster, BYU's first team all Big 12 left tackle. I was surprised, frankly. He did not get the invite to Indy, given that he's 6'30" and can move. I also think that Jacob Robinson is an interesting cornerback, a guy that just made interceptions, made plays. Is he fast enough at the next level? I think he should be an undrafted free agent as well. And Darius Lassner is an interesting guy because there's a chance he comes back to BYU, but he's one of those former JUCO guys trying to get an extra year. Hasn't had a ruling exactly on whether he's eligible for this next year. So he may be a guy that goes to the next level, and then he could be a good receiver on a staff as well. He was shorthanded, made some huge plays for BYU last year. 11-2 team.
Okay, we kind of joke about keep your friends close and your enemies on this segment. I do not consider you an enemy, just so you know. Really appreciate you program. You're Jeremy Jordan here is the host, one of the hosts with Spencer Linton on BYU Sports Nation.
Spencer's not here. We're good.
No, you are the host. Like you carry. I've watched you. I know you carry the show. Spencer's the eye candy. He's just the guy that's the comic relief. You're the guy with all the meat and potatoes. I know how it works, and I'll tell.
Out too. He's looking medium shirts of his. Oh boy!
I used to talk to Spencer on the radio back many moons ago, and I really enjoyed when he'd come on. So he's a great dude. I really appreciate your time, and I'm a big fan of this rivalry. And I've said it before. I just want everyone out there, because I know a lot of folks listen to the Utah folks on this station, but we really need both of these programs to be very good nationally, and it will help us. Tides raise all ships. Now, we can hate each other on the court and on the field and all that stuff, but it's really important that we all do well. So, back to you, and thanks for coming on.
Always good to talk to you, Scott. Thanks, man.
You got it. All right, there you have it. Jeremy Jordan, BYU Sports Nation host. He is the host with the most, and Provo is going pro. That's all I know. That's what we learned today. All right, we're going to take another break. We come back here. Sean Syed from Sumer Sports. So we're going to talk a little NFL around the corner. It is the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 792.1 FM. Sports fans, welcome to Sean show here on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Of course, we're Utah's #1 sports talk and home of the. Joining the program right now is Sean Syed from Sumer Sports. Sean, welcome to the program. How's your day? How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me on. Free agency, I feel like it's an exciting time. We get to sell hope to all these different franchises. You hope that, one player is going to make this big difference on your team.
Okay, what is, we kind of joke around, it's a legal tampering day. Of course, it extends for a few days, so we're kind of tongue-in-cheek. Legal tampering part due. What does legal tampering in the NFL mean?
As someone who has a law degree, I feel like legal and tampering, maybe those are words that are a little bit aliens in a way. To me, it is free agency. Like, just NFL, let's be cool about it. Let's all just, extend the window. Why do we have to do this kind of song and dance? I do understand, you have to have a year start date where, okay, now you get released on Wednesday, the technical start based on kind of like calendars and stuff like that. But it's an exciting time where, just throwing money and throwing around the most dollars doesn't mean the most wins necessarily.
Right.
But with the rising cap, I think it's interesting that, a lot of the numbers that we look at, the initial feeling is that's a lot of money, but salary cap keeps on rising a little bit. Some of those deals can start to look more palatable.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing for me to wrap my brain around. I mean, my first year when they had a salary cap, it was $32 million for the entire cap. So things have changed dramatically. I want to some of this. I kind of want to do it position by position if we can. So I want to start with the quarterbacks. Kind of talk to what you think were the good so far in the quarterback kind of carousel that's happened here with free agency.
When we look at the biggest headline, I think that Geno Smith trade to the Raiders is a win for the Raiders. I understand it a little bit from the Seahawks perspective in terms of their, I don't think Mike Macdonald wants to be tied to that Geno Smith contract. I really enjoy watching Geno Smith play. For the Raiders to find a way into high level peak is familiar with, I think that's a really, really big win. And there, and then you look at the Seahawks getting Sam Darnold, you look at his contract, I think it makes sense where maybe you're getting Darnold at 75 or 85% of Geno Smith's value. It's going to be on a little bit of a shorter term deal. You bring Darnold, I think the argument Darnold has familiarity with Kubiak, offensive coordinator. When I think of the Seahawks plan overall, I think going in, seeing them trade DK Metcalf, trade Geno Smith, I wasn't sure, was it something where they're going to rip it down to the studs? It seems like they're still really going to do their best to be competitive. So for me, I get a little bit concerned there just because Sam Darnold had such a good environment in Minnesota. I was really going to have to nail the offensive line spot in the draft, a high-level play out of Sam Darnold again.
Yeah, and then kind of impacts the Vikings, and they have – and where do you think the mindset is with that? I mean, do they know something we don't know, or what's – seems like a big risk – unknown, even though he's highly favored.
Yeah, McCarthy, talking to people in the building, they really like J.J. McCarthy. Like your first-round selection in the building every day you want to be familiar with. I don't love the idea of them bringing in like Aaron Rodgers or someone there to be a player in that quarterback room as well. I have to imagine they're going to sign some sort of veteran backup just on the case maybe McCarthy's recovery isn't going early on. I'm such a believer in Kevin O'Connell and thinking, what he was able to get out of Kirk Cousins into Sam Darnold, and now with McCarthy, it feels like the money that they saved from not paying Sam Darnold went to a lot of spots that I was really, really happy about on the interior, on both sides of the football. So, it feels like they really believe in their guy there. So we're all going to find out pretty quickly. I think obviously it's going to be important to be a little bit patient with McCarthy, but going from having that many wins last season, being that close to the NFC North crown, and then going into a rookie quarterback, I think it might be a little bit of a jump for the Vikings.
They're, I think, interesting kind of second tier, third-ish tier. You have Justin Fields to the Jets. You have to the Colts, and you have Zach Wilson, who there's a local interest here with Zach. He goes to Miami Dolphins. What situations are these guys getting into, and what do you like and dislike about these moves?
Daniel Jones going to that Colts room where I think you see the lines like, oh, he's going to compete with Anthony Richardson. To me, it doesn't feel like, oh, you're going to be competing with Anthony Richardson. It's that Richardson, however he is, I think there's a chance that he doesn't play every game. So the Colts are kind of just insurance there. I was interested, for Minnesota, from Daniel Jones spending some time there last year. Maybe he wanted to come back, but the Vikings, I think, get some benefit by Jones signing elsewhere just for the compensatory pick formula in that direction. And then, Justin Fields in New York, I'm really interested just for the Jets overall, where it feels like, you have that first-year head coach with Aaron Glenn. They're obviously trying to establish a real new culture there. I think when you have Henry Engstrand, the offensive coordinator, of course, came from Detroit, it's not like they were running a lot of quarterback run with Jared last year. So I'm interested to see what they're building in terms of that kind of running plan or just the offense overall. Because when you look at Justin Fields, likes to target, it's pretty different than wearing Jared Goff, who will the ball over the middle. It feels like I think probably a smart bet in that spot. You're not signing into some long deal. I think people look at the money going for Fields and say, hey, maybe that's a little bit high. But if it just ends up as a one-year deal, he's a bridge to something else, that quarterback room, I think for a team trying to just really create a new identity, I think it's an to make for the Jets.
And Zach Wilson, what you think about him going to Miami?
Yeah, I think Wilson, another guy where, Miami, his I think, play style is certainly different than Tua Tagovailoa in Miami. I do think, though, just being in that sort of offense, that could just letting that on the field. I think that just where you're hopefully in a positive offensive ecosystem, something that's built around, getting the ball out of the quarterback's hand pretty quick and timing. I think if Wilson can improve in that way through camp, and that he does have to play games, unfortunately, considering Tua's injury history, there's a real chance that we see Zach Wilson taking snaps game for the Dolphins this season.
A lot of offensive lineman movement. Is that a bit of a surprise? Some people think it's a. What's your on some of these offensive line moves that have gone on?
Yeah, I think in terms of offensive line, you pay a lot of money to offensive line. The Dan Morgan deal or Dan Moore to the Titans, like that was a contract. Well, that looks like a big contract, but you have to pay up for starting tackle play in this league. So even if you're in that kind of, middle of the road, if you're kind of an average NFL starter, it's still going to take a lot. For him to go to that maybe a left tackle spot, you bump J.C. Latham, their first-round pick from last year, back to his natural side. So that can be in two spots for the Bears to have. Like, they're making just such a clear, concerted effort at improving that offensive line. Dahlman with Jackson's health, with their left tackle in terms of how he has played. I just like a team saying, we are not going to have the same offense line going into the next season. We're going to do everything we can to improve that spot around Caleb Williams. So I like those, but probably my favorite signing for the free agency period, Scott, was, the Ravens retaining Ronnie Stanley. I'm glad that he wasn't able to hit free agency. I think the Bucs also retained one of their offensive linemen. So some of the retention, I think, is really, really important to look at as well.
Defensive side of the ball, who talk a little bit about Myles Garrett. He signs a big deal. That surprised you at all?
No, it didn't, because, money is green, and that can beat warm weather and championships at some point. And I don't blame Garrett one bit. I think that, he is just like the best defensive player in the league. So I think for him to be rewarded as such is really, really important. And I'm excited for that, room overall, I think, where they signed Joe Tryon-Shrinka from the Buccaneers as well. So it's, is it something where they're going to draft an edge defender early on? They're going to be able to get Abdul Carter in there. I think that's just going to be a fun defensive unit. And I think looking at some of the other defensive signings around the league, I think of the Colts where they add Cam Bynum from the Vikings, they add Javarius Ward from the 49ers to Lou Anarumo's defense. Of course, Lou Anarumo has called good defenses for the Bengals in the past. So you get some versatile pieces. I do like seeing that. I think that could be a group that is fun. Of course, the Broncos adding Hufanga and Greenlaw from the 49ers. You hope that those guys are able to stay healthy. I think if they are, that really does sort of add another level there. But where they were so good last year, so thinking about even more flexibility, even more just aggressiveness from a really, really fun unit. And then thinking about DJ Reed going to Lions, that was one of my signings that I really, really liked. I think Reed's a competitive player on the outside. I think he's someone that can challenge you, someone that fits that sort of Lions mentality and can be a lot of fun this season.
And then there's some pretty significant moves in the secondary. What did you like there?
Yeah, like I mentioned, I think Reed was a really good one. I think when you look at the Patriots bringing in Carlton Davis, I think that is one where, you're betting a little bit on a guy with some injury history, but the idea of him on one side to close out Christian Gonzalez on the other side, I do really get excited about that. Of course, the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson trade from the Eagles over to the Texans, where now the Texans have a lot of flexibility in that secondary. I think the Eagles knew that they were going to have some contract discussions with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They had some tough decisions going into the offseason. So you get some trades where trades are always fun, of course,
yep.
And the Texans seem to be pretty active on those.
So what did you like? What have you liked? Like who did a good job in free agency and who kind of really messed it up?
To me, the Vikings adding to the trenches where you're getting Jonathan Allen, you're getting Jamal Hargrave. Jonathan Allen, of course, off an injury. I do think he still has good play in him. You add to the offensive interior as well with Wolf Rise and Ryan Kelly. The Vikings have had just issues at right guard for all of Kevin O'Connell's time there. So I get excited about teams that are adding, those pieces too important, like the spine of your offense, the spine of your defense right down that middle. And that's what plugging in, the team and making huge waves, that's not always the biggest thing. To think about someone who's maybe not as happy with how free agency went, I'm thinking about Osei Odighizuwa's agent after seeing that Milton Williams contract come in that high. I feel like the Cowboys got a pretty significant discount there. So it's going to be exciting to see where you have the Patriots spending a ton on guys like Milton Williams, and then the Panthers having to respond to that, where now you're signing like in the running there. Tough when you look at the initial number and then the next day you get hitting out just a little bit are going to be a positive to look at as well.
So now that we've kind of gotten a pretty good feel for free agency, what kind of going to have on the draft? Just sitting here thinking, Myles Garrett going back to Cleveland and Abdul Carter on the other side of him. Wow, how fun would that be? And what kind of is that ever going to happen in Cleveland? What kind of impact do you think free agencies now had and kind of how things shake out there?
Yeah, it would be really fun to have that kind of end up in Cleveland. For me, I thought, is Sam Darnold going to be a Tennessee? Is that going to be his destination with him out of the picture there? Does that hint to us like, hey, Tennessee is definitely going to go with Cam Ward? He's going to be their quarterback of the future. At the same time, the Browns sure take it there. That shouldn't preclude you from drafting a quarterback. I wonder where, if Aaron Rodgers of maybe the Steelers, does that mean that, the Steelers making a pick at that 3 spot, or are they going to have to trade up to try and get someone there? And then you think about, of course, the Patriots there. Is it a situation where, hey, we're definitely going to draft Will Campbell, or we have people moving up in the draft? So we still have some days of free agency. I think it's going to be really interesting. Just you finish off the quarterback carousel, and then you got to think like if Russell Wilson ends up as a quarterback in New York, if Rodgers goes to Pittsburgh, that can't stop you from drafting a quarterback. You still have to be able to take a shot at the most important position in the league.
Where do you think Aaron Rodgers does want to play?
Where he wants to play, that is a tough one. I think that when you look, again, I guess everything's being reported as either Pittsburgh or the Giants. Is it going to be somewhere else? Who knows? I think when you look at those two situations, you look at Pittsburgh, where, of course, they added DK Metcalf. Is George Pickens going to get traded? Maybe you look at the Giants. And Dable is, I think, a smart offensive mind who has shown success with guys like Josh Allen. You think their offensive line is, decent. I guess I would maybe lean a little bit towards Pittsburgh, even though you're, of course, in that really, really tough division. I think, maybe if he already has a place, it's not too much to go back to the same stadium playing for the Jets to play into the Giants. So I guess I lean a little bit towards the Steelers. He can brave the cold. He's been fine in that through his career. I mentioned again, like if there's some talk though, maybe he ends up as the Vikings guy. I think that is a little bit less appealing to me, and that might be a little bit less appealing to him. I'm assuming that, he wants to be able to start. And look, he at times last year for the Jets, they play like a decent quarterback. There's just so much, of course, that comes with him. So you hope that, if he ends up in a place like Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin has done such a good job just kind of quieting the noise around really every single player for so long. So you hope that he's able to come in there. He's able to just, do the job, be businesslike, and take care of business as needed.
As I'm sitting here listening to you, I really appreciate it. It's been awesome. I just want to be a GM. Wouldn't it be fun to just kind of just figure out all these little pieces to the puzzle, and then just take all your monopoly money and just kind of disperse it however you want? I just think it would be fun. None of this is real life, right? This is just entertainment. It's just crazy, ridiculous, but it's so fun to watch, so fun to see unfold, and this is just the beginning, and it's exciting to go through the off season and see all these changes, where people end up and how it impacts next season. So really appreciate your time, Sean, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks so much, Scott. Appreciate it.
All right, there you have, folks. Sean Syed from Sumer Sports. He's an NFL analyst there and an attorney. And he's a little uncomfortable with legal tampering mixed in the same sentence. But we're not, because it's legal. So tamper away all you want with whatever you're doing. Celebrate St. Patrick's Day, Saturday, March 15th at Gracie's with live music, giveaways, games, photo booths, and more, right in the heart of Salt Lake City. Get details and RSVP now at gracieslc.com. When we come back, James is going to give us a tanking update, because that's the most important thing going on in our sports world right now, the Jazz and their quest for number one. It's the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Hello, sports fans. Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Mitchell filling in for That's What I Do. Fill in for Sean, for Spence, wherever. The utility player. I'm the closer. I'm the middle reliever. I'm the left. That's what happens when things happen. So, of course, we're here on the program, and we're part of the Utah ESPN network, and proud to be a part of that, by the way. So, James is going to give us a tank update. And I'm curious, before you do that, I have something in my mind to get off. Perhaps you could help me with that, James.
Yeah, I'd be happy to help you with that, Scott.
So if you're not only listening to this, I'm sitting in a studio, and it's a lovely studio. And to my right is a window, and I look out into 3rd South or Broadway here in Salt Lake, right on West Temple and 3rd South. It's a Ruth Chris. I don't smell this in here.
No.
Is Chris? What? Not my dilemma. Is this? So I'm look at this TV monitor, right? And
yeah.
Of course, we're ESPN, so what do you think the monitor's on? It's on ESPN.
Got ESPN. We got the worldwide leader on.
Yeah, we got the world, and we're getting updates, and they have all of these shows on. So early show, and he's wearing jeans.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at and they have a big old in the knee. I to myself, I'm thinking, I could never wear ripped jeans. And I don't understand ripped jeans. And I know it's a thing. I know
style for some reason.
I know it's a big deal.
Yeah.
What happened to me is I got reinforced tough skin jeans.
Mm.
So I wouldn't rip a hole in my jeans because it's all I got, right?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, he's like,
yeah, when they were ripped, you had a problem.
Yeah. And so and we actually had patches that we would these massive, like, reinforced, you couldn't even bend your legs or so when you rip jeans. I don't understand jeans.
Yeah.
Do you wear ripped jeans?
I don't have any. When I was in high school, that was about the time when well, yeah, and not because I loved the look particularly, but that was what people wore.
So you're a follower.
Yeah,
so
I was
with the trends.
Yeah.
You okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it's still very much a thing now.
I can't do.
Yeah.
Now that we have that out of the
way. I always joked that professionally ripped, as you alluded to, you rip them when you're outside growing up. You'd rip them as you're out playing. And you get in trouble with your mom because those were expensive and everything else, right? But these are professionally ripped.
Right. That's just like, I mean, how professional do you have to be to rip jeans?
Right.
Like, it's like, what's your job? I'm a professional jean ripper. How much money do you make? Oh, lots.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars to rip jeans. And if you rip them the right way, they're actually worth more.
Yeah.
So help me understand something here that I do understand. And there was some good news. Is there some good news on the tanking front here?
Couple of good.
Some good news about the tank.
So
race.
First, despite their best efforts, the Jazz back from another 20-point deficit in the second half, fell to the defending champs. So they were competitive. That's what Scott. That's what we want this year.
And by the way, because I did not watch the game.
Right, Scott. For the rest of us,
yes,
to make sure that the loss was happy, but it was also competitive. Bryce Sensabaugh was awesome. 20 points. He looked so smooth at times, Scott, when he offensively he needs to develop, but he's got the scoring thing down.
And I really hope that through this tanking process that these types of things evolve, where and I understand very acutely how important game experience is. And,
Yeah.
Typically these young wouldn't get opportunities to play on a team,
Right.
or they wouldn't have as much time to play. So we really do hope that, out court and working it out and, and seeing some of the, like from Bryson, that this, this translates into success, down the road for this team. The one thing, though, about it that concerns me is, if you're always playing with bad players, sometimes you need those pros to teach you how to play. And when you play with better players, it makes you better too. And you just hope that all the young guys playing together doesn't make them, bad. I mean, some people are like, we're watching a G League game here, and you hope, it's a fine line, that balance there. And I think it's one of the most intriguing, fascinating things, how to fit all of these players and what combination of players, or that you don't win very much, but you keep bad habits or a bad culture. I mean, it's just a fascinating thing. All right.
It really is. And more good news.
Yes.
Not Jazz related. The Hornets came back from a 20-point deficit to beat the Heat in Miami. Those
that was in Miami too.
Yeah, those dumb insects. They won again, Scott, and we love it.
Yes.
They had a loss handed to them on a platter, but they refused it, and they won again in a late game comeback. 2 in a row for the Hornets, and so that helps the Jazz in the tank race. Unfortunately, can't be all good news. Wizards did lose to the Raptors in their second straight. So they are still at the top of the standings here in a sec. Tonight, the game's on tap. Jazz don't play. They don't play again until tomorrow in Memphis. But tonight, you got the Wizards taking on the Pistons. Pistons are good this year, and it's in Detroit, so that should be a tough one for the Wizards, but we hope that they can pull it out anyway. And then Pelicans hosting the Clippers. Now, this is kind of a win-win. This one's an interesting matchup, Scott.
Okay.
Let me explain how it's a win-win. Obviously, we win as much as possible because it helps the Jazz in the tank race, right?
Of course.
But we want the Clippers to win a little bit for the secondary tank because they're only a game behind Minnesota.
Right.
And the Jazz do have the Wolves first-round pick this year.
Yes.
And so if the Clippers win, they stay right on. They in the play-in race to keep them in line. Pelicans win in the primary tank. So it's an interesting one with the Clippers so close to Minnesota in the standings. You would prefer, I think Jazz should still be rooting for first before you think about the secondary tank, but it's not the worst thing in the world if the Clippers end up getting the win. Kind of helps you a little bit there too.
So you need the Pelicans to win so that Minnesota will lose. Is that what you're saying to me?
Minnesota, so that Minnesota stays in the play-in and not get into 6th place because, man, the Suns are not helping the Jazz out. The Suns in 11th place are not going to be knocking the Wolves out of the play-in, unfortunately. So update the standings real quick. Wizards still in first at 13-50. Jazz a game behind them at 15-50. Hornets in third, 16-48, 2.5 games back of the Wizards. Pelicans 17-48, 3 games back. And those are your tank race standings. Where are the T-Wolves? Tied for 6th with the Warriors, a game up on the Clippers as we talked about. And real quick, it's conference tournament week in men's college basketball, Scott. So, yeah, and of course that means Runnin' Utes have their first game tonight. We'll talk about Sean Mooney. Talk about that with Sean Mooney here in a sec, taking on UCF, coverage starting at 7. But the other thing that means is that you get a chance to see some of these projected top picks besides Cooper Flagg. That's the one we all have been hearing about. There's other really good players the Jazz could take if they don't get the number 1 pick. Rutgers is in action tonight. They got 2 of them. They're taking on USC at 6:30 on Peacock. That's Dylan Harper and lottery picks. And Rutgers isn't a tournament team, Scott. So
Dylan Harper
this might be your last
is one
chance
of
to watch. He is.
Yeah.
He's looked at this number a really
So we need
good
to
point guard.
do some scouting.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you chance to do some scouting
Yeah.
tonight.
All right.
And then just real quick, Cooper Flag they don't play till Thursday, so that's your next chance to kind of scout him. Baylor, their guy Jay Edge is a number 3 or number 4 pick in most mock drafts right now. They play tomorrow. Texas has a projected top 5 trade tomorrow, and of course BYU you should be pretty familiar with this guy, but Yegor Demon, who's looked at as a lottery pick, they play again. They don't play again until Thursday, as we heard from Jerem Jordan in the red and blue. So that's your tank update.
So some pretty healthy, positive news there for the Jazz. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we have Sean Mooney. Of course, the Running Utes are playing tonight against UCF in the Big 12 tournament. That's at 7:30 tip-off. Pre-game's at 7 right here on ESPN 700. This is the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Baseline left on the inbound. To Little. Now Madsen, catch and shoot 3 for Gabe. Missed it. Rebound. Hunter Erickson! Oh, he soars in and dunks it down. What a play by Erickson.
Hunter Erickson, Duncan, the Running Utes lost. We have Utes Sports Net. None other than the voice of the Utes, Bill Riley, and our next guest, Sean Mooney, on the call. Welcome back to the program. It is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Proud to be a part of Utah's ESPN radio network, Utah's #1 sports talk, and, of course, home of the Utes. Joining us right now on the program, none other than Sean Mooney. Of course, he's the color analyst. Sean, welcome to the program. How are you today?
Scott, I'm doing. Thanks for having me on, man. I'm outside Arthur Bryant's in Kansas City. Bill Riley has me on the all barbecue tour. You know this. We got gates early. We got a little, I don't know, it's right next to the place. I can't remember the name of it, but it smells so good. I wish you were here with me. You could have some of this with us.
Yes, it was actually going to be my first question to you. How is the barbecue out in Kansas City? Of course, Sean is at the Big 12 tournament there, which starts for the Utes tonight at 7:30. Pregame's at 7 p.m. Aside from the barbecue, what's the feeling around the team and the tournament? Where is everybody?
Yeah, no, I think the feeling's good. It's been really interesting because it's been a couple weeks that were odd, right? When your head coach gets fired and everyone's kind of rallying around the student athletes. The student athletes are trying to do their very, very best to kind of figure things out. I think everyone feels a little bit in limbo still. That's what I would say. Alex Jensen did make it here Monday night. I got to shake his hand and say hi. Kind of had an impromptu meeting, I think, with the team. I got to talk to the coaches afterward, and everyone, transition.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen? But it was nice that he made the flight. Yesterday in practice, I think the kids looked really good. As a matter of fact, their intensity level, Scott, was high. So Eilert had them doing a particular drill, kind of a 4-in, no threes, and really trying to load up the paint, which we're going to try and do against UCF tonight. The intensity level was high. It was good. It was fun to watch the kids that could arguably be their last full practice of the year.
Yeah, I was curious. You talk on eggshells. Actually, before I get into that, I just really quickly, I have to follow up with you. Did you ever throw the headset?
No, man. I haven't thrown the headset. Bill knows, and he's got a leash on me, which isn't that hard. I'll take that leash any day of the week. I'm pretty easy to leash. I'm kind of like, a Labrador, like they have a Labrador.
Yeah. For those of you who don't,
I know what you've offered me. I know what you've offered me, and I may have to take you up on it.
Yeah. For those of you who don't understand, on the joke here, and it's not really, it's kind of a bad. So I'm the color analyst for the football game. Sean's the color analyst for the basketball games, and we're supposed to be color to add some spice and excitement to it. And I get intense, and of course there were a couple of times in football games that I was upset. One of them was a pick six in the first Pac-12 championship game, where Washington won the game like 6-0 or so. It was a crazy game, and so I threw the headset and looked at me as only Bill Riley can look at you and said to me, "Don't ever do that again." So I bet Sean. I said, "Come on, Sean, show him some excitement. Just throw the headset once, and I'll buy you dinner." Right? That's what. So our Labrador there in Kansas City, he's like he's too loyal and faithful to his owner, and will not throw that set. So you owe me dinner. You owe me dinner now. That's what's going to happen.
Okay, all right. About that, I'll buy you dinner for sure.
So getting back to this team, eggshells. What kind of impact do you think having Alex Jensen there and actually talking to the team, and does it change the outcome of things? What do you think will be the impact?
Well, yeah, and I guess what I mean by eggshells is it's an awkward situation,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
So I like that Alex did it. I love that. I love that he wants to connect with the team, but I think he really tried to point out to Coach Eilert and the other coaches that he didn't want to get in the way.
Yeah.
So it tried to be kind of casual. And then, of course, here's the reality. Every coach arguably is uncertain of what their future is. And I think Alex didn't allay those fears. That's not what he tried to do. Not for him.
Sure.
But I think the coaches are all wondering where they're next. That's just part of this process. And in lieu of that, also the kids, the student athletes probably are. And we know that, these kids have a lot of voices in their head, meaning that people are talking to them. They don't actually have voices in their head. and that there's interest, obviously, for athletes, just like there's interest for other athletes. And in the new day and age of college basketball, we're talking about, the transfer portal being people are not supposed to, but I'm sure there are conversations going on. So I think we've done a good job of really dedicating this team done a good job of dedicating their effort and their energy. And you got to give Coach Eiler credit, because you can see that in practice, and you can see that in the pace with which they're trying to do things in practice, and just they like each other, which is great.
We've talked a little bit. At least I have the last, several days since Alex Jensen's been hired. And a lot of it's been the speculation of, well, who's going to be on who's going to be around and who are they going to bring in? And I guess my question that I'm curious about is who that's here wants to be here and would like to be a part of moving forward, or as opposed to, man, I'm, as you say, those voices like, of the players, coaches, who do you think are the ones that really want to be here and be a part of this?
In my opinion, but I think KD, and I'm not speaking for him. I'm speaking for myself, just based on the language, body language, and what I kind of. I think Keanu Dawes is a kid who, genuinely, I think mostly everybody would, dependent upon the circumstances. But obviously, I think KD is one. While Mike, Mongolian Mike, be great if Ez. I think Ez is one of the most interesting kids on our team. He's joyful all the time, obviously playing at a high level. I think from a student athlete standpoint, they're all waiting to see, but I think they've liked the experience for the part. They've liked the team. They like the connection from a coaching. Obviously, I think Coach Eilert was a great hire. 17 years at West Virginia. He knows the Big 12. He's doing a great job with these kids. He's no nonsense. Really cares about them. Tyler Larson has done a really good job this year. Coach Evans has done a good job. I think they all expect to not have a job. I just think that's the reality of bringing in a new hire, because you try to put people around you, the new hire, that are loyal to you, that and maybe they make up for your shortcomings. But I hope there's a transition, and one of those coaches, if not more, can stay. We obviously, this, we get to know them. We become friends. We're business. That's the business, right? When you sign on that dotted line, you may not have a job at the end of the year.
There's so much talk about Alex Jensen and the excitement, who's going to be there, what. And I know, like in the NFL, there's a type of coach, right? And the type is like an offensive minded coach, defensive minded coach. Right. What type of coach would you want to play for if you're a running Ute? Medeiros had his style and who he was, and that you want to play for, and then coaches.
Yeah, that's a good question. So the type of coach I want to play for, that's honest, that tells the truth, even if it hurts.
Right.
I really like that. I understand where I stand, and certainly Coach Medeiros was very honest. It worked well for me. I didn't have a hard time with it, but again, let's be real, I wasn't any good. So Coach and I got along great.
I don't know. I played against you, and you were a pretty good player. Don't sell yourself short.
That's very nice. If you go relative to at the college level, there were just some very good athletes.
Yep.
I had a lot of heart, and I had a lot of energy and positivity. But I want to play for someone that tells the truth. And I think that's hard to do in this day and age, because maybe you're always recruiting your kids.
Yeah.
And then I think Alex Jensen is definitely that kind of truth. I think that's going to be his strength. The kids were saying, the student athletes were saying, I heard this is the coaches vibe off of Alex. And now we know the new lingo today is what your vibe is. But his is definitely more laid back. Maybe more introspective. That's just the vibe I get, and what I think the student athletes are getting, but also listener. And then I think every kid has a different kind of coaching style. It's the art, right? Is trying to find each athlete's style, or their student athletes, what you need, how you need to meet them to help them understand what it is you want. And teaching, I mean, that's the art. And if you can bring kids together in that teaching matrix, that's great. But I think honesty, number one, and truth telling.
So
how about you?
Well, no, that was the thing. So the greatest coach I had the privilege of playing for was Don Shula in all time, and he was like that. There was a honestness to him, and what you appreciate about it is he tells you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. Now the delivery form, is about as subtle as a bull in a china closet. It's like we used to have we'd have weigh-ins every Thursday,
wow.
and then which is a common thing in the NFL. Wouldn't be in the NBA because y'all run, and you just run all the time. It's like you might get weighed in for
there
being
are a couple players.
Yeah,
there are a couple players.
Yeah, but so you did not want to be overweight because Coach berate you in front of everyone, the whole entire team, talk about how you had no discipline, a lack of self-respect. I mean, he hit all the buttons with it, and and so I made sure I was never ever overweight in my entire career. And there were a few weeks where I had to do a little extra to do it, but I was not going to be overweight. And so I appreciate the honesty. And I heard Steve Kerr tells a story of when he played for Phil Jackson, and it was Dennis Rodman, right? And so they had to figure out I just need Dennis Rodman to get me 15 rebounds a night, and be this defensive specialist. And what they did is they found that if Dennis got disengaged with the team, so he didn't feel like he felt isolated and alone, he didn't play as well. So Phil Jackson put Jed Bushler and Steve Kerr as the designated buddies to Dennis, right?
I love it.
So Dennis Rodman goes out all night, right? Yep. And they have to take for the team, and so they're out all night with Dennis Rodman. They show up at the hotel the next morning at 9:00, and they walk through the front door. And Phil Jackson meets them in the lobby, and just said, "Hey, how was last night? And when did you guys get home?" And Bushler looks at Steve Kerr and goes, "Yeah, when did we get home?" And of course Phil Jackson knew, and just said, "Hey, I'll see you at practice, in an hour," and that was it. And Steve Kerr's comment was, "What coach have the kind of willingness to say, look, I know what I need to get out of Dennis Rodman." Steve Kerr, look, he and Jed Bushler were just role players, So you all aren't going to get any sleep, and you're going to take one for the team, but that's what makes us good as a team. I'm curious too, like, is there such a thing as an offensive minded coach in basketball and a defensive coach, and which of those would you rather play for?
I mean, gosh, I played for one that had both, right? Defensive mind and an offensive mind. But he did bring people around him that were better offensively. I don't know if he would agree with this, but one of Jeff Judkins' strengths, having played in the Boston Celtic organization named Larry Bird, and Juddy will tell you this more than I will. Juddy's still the shooter ever to play, and you got Judd. That's your shout out right there. Pretty damn good. But Juddy was helping our offensive players read defenders. And Coach was good at this also, but Juddy was especially good at it. So reading whether they go under the screen, into the screen, chase, what you do, where you go, how to get your hand set, feet set. Yeah, you definitely want that. You want coaches that have those strengths, right, or end outs or side outs or after timeouts. You want all of those types of strengths on your staff, so you don't have to do everything, and then you can focus on what it is you choose to focus on. Maybe one of those things is just simply what you just talked about, right? Trying to figure out the Dennis Rodmans of your team, how to live with what they do, but have what they do when they're on the court be the best version of themselves for the best version of the team. Obviously, the sum of the parts makes a big difference. Like, we're playing a team tonight, Scott, UCF, that has a second team all-conference, Keyshawn Hall, and they have an honorable mention in Darius Johnson. senior point guard. So they've got arguably better parts just by those two than we have. We have one honorable mention player on our team. But I think I know our team has been better than UCF this year in terms of what we've done and what we've accomplished.
Speaking of the Running Utes in tonight, what is a good expectation for the tournament? Is it, I mean, how far can this team get into the tournament? What would be kind of a good, nice, positive end to this season?
Yeah, obviously, winning tonight. We need this win. UCF, the loss at UCF we had this kind of hope riding right. 5 games left, and we needed to get one on the road, which we just so struggled with, right? In this last 4 years, but in this year we got that one at TCU. So I think this win tonight, I want it. I'm gonna claim it right now. And then we're playing Kansas tomorrow. And here's the deal, man. Kansas, even though they're up and down, they're loaded. And the models meaning the metrics, they show that this Kansas team is pretty dangerous. And I think most people would put them even against that team from Houston that's so incredibly good. So I would say winning tonight and then being competitive tomorrow night, and it would be wonderful if we could beat Kansas. Having already beat them once, I think it's going to be hard. We know we were in their hotel last night, Scott. There are a lot of people here. This is close.
Yeah, it's almost a home game, right?
It is. It absolutely is.
Is that unfair? Did you think that's an unfair advantage? Where the tournament is played, is it, do you like where it is? Is there a better location for it, or is it just it's pretty situated for our conference and works?
I think it's great. So I've been here since Sunday. It's pretty quiet. The whole city is branded for Big 12 basketball. Obviously, they're playing the women's Big 12 tournament. I'm really happy with it. Everyone tells me, and I get to experience it today for real, that there's just a lot of energy. Fans can get here. And Scott, you know this. I think you would agree with this. It doesn't matter who you're playing in front of. You either bring it or you don't. And I think the energy from having a crowd cheering against you, I mean, sometimes that's the best energy. The hardest place we ever played when I was playing was the Air Force, where there were 12 cadets that had to go to the game. And they just watched the ice hockey team before. It was a morgue. So I think it's a great venue. I'm really excited to be part of it. Big 12's doing it the right way, other than the floor. Have you seen the floor?
I haven't.
Oh my gosh! It's like black. It's beautiful. The outside part of the floor is great, but they have 12 all over the floor, and it gets just a little too busy for me.
A little too busy.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully the Utes will get busy here tonight. They play at 7:30, so you can hear Bill and Sean tip off 7:30 ESPN 92.1 FM. Go enjoy your barbecue. Really appreciate your time. Always great to talk, and go Utes.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate you. Have a good day, brother. I'll buy dinner next. Okay, bye.
Sounds good. All right, there you have it. Sean Mooney, the color analyst for the Running Utes basketball team. That should be a lot of fun, actually. And, it's interesting with Alex Jensen. To me, just because of college sports is where's the support, right? That's the, the boosters getting behind this, and, in both, really in all these sports at the University of Utah. So that remains to be seen, but it seems like folks are ready to put their money where their mouth is. And look, we want all our sports to do well. So, all right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, what do we have here? We got NFL head coaches that I'd like to play for. This Ute Insider, by the way, is brought to you by the 2025 Big 12 Gymnastics Championship. Watch the best of the best, including the University of Utah Red Rocks, Saturday, March 22nd at the Maverick Center. Get your tickets today at maverickcenter.com. This is the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 792.1 FM. Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. It is the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 792.1 FM. I'm Scott Mitchell, filling in for Sean on his show. Of course, I also have programs on the ESPN Utah Radio Network here on ESPN 792.1 FM. The Down and Dirty from 10 to 11. I'm sandwiched between Dan Patrick, Sean O'Connell Show, and then in the afternoon from 1 to 2 on 103.9, 98.3 ESPN, The Fan. Fun show. We have a lot of fun with it. We don't have a lot of time every day, so we get down and dirty in sports. Give it to you quick, the way you like it. Just so you know, if you're really interested out there in this world of sports, as of today and as of the moment we're at right now, if you're interested, they have spent a grand total of $2.1 billion paid in free agency to these athletes so far. $2.17 billion. Now, we're in the legally tampering zone, so they actually haven't spent it yet. They've tampered enough to this is how much. And there's still more free agency to go on. There's still more players, a lot of, Russell Wilson, of course. You have Aaron Rodgers. You have, some other significant players who are still out there. But $2.17 billion is quite a bit of money. I don't know how you feel about it, but go NFL. It's pretty wild. You're watching the United States government and this whole Department of Efficiency, right, with Elon Musk and him going through and looking at these departments and how much money they're actually spending in the government. It's kind of an interesting. For some reason, everyone seems to spend billions of dollars.
There's so many B's, right?
Yeah,
billions. They're not M's, they're B's.
Right, and you go, oh yeah, they spent $300 million, and you're kind of disappointed, or it's $50 million, and you're like,
why don't you want to invest in your department?
Yeah, it's just like unless it's like where you're wasting billions of dollars, we're uninterested. Now, my favorite thing is the people that are dead, like they're really dead, and they're still paying out. So we can do better as a country. I'm not getting political here, but it's nice to, we need to be efficient in what we do. And hopefully the money the NFL has spent in free agency has been efficient. It remains to be seen. But there were certainly some people that really got paid. I thought this was an interesting topic, and it was kind of fun to have a little bit of a conversation with Sean Moody in the previous segment about coaches and head coaches and kind of coaching styles and what is a good coaching style and what is not a good coaching style, and you get people like Pete Carroll who is a very optimistic, he's not a tyrant, right, in his demeanor. And then there's a lot of other coaches. You might argue Vince Lombardi might have been a tyrant. I mean, Coach Shula was, I wouldn't call him a tyrant. He was tough, but he'd get on you. But there are coaches that are, kind of that different mindset. And of course, then you have Phil Jackson, who you got to get in your Zen space, and different ideas. And I thought it'd be kind of interesting to look at, like for me personally, like who would I want to play? What NFL coach would I really want to play for today? And the list is not long. There's 32 NFL coaches. And as I was kind of looking through this list, a lot of them I go, I don't know if I do or I don't, because they're so unknown, And
Yeah.
so if you take,
There are quite a few newer and really younger head coaches in the league now.
I'll give you a great example. Okay. One of the coaches who got hired that I didn't know a lot about, and I was like, that guy's weird. And you're almost like who was in the hiring process for this guy? Like where did they find this guy? right? And you're kind of like, yeah, I don't know about that one. And then as you get to know them and you watch them perform, you're like, you know what? I could play for that guy. And one of them is the guy I'm thinking of is Mike McDaniel. With the Miami Dolphins. You go, he kind of rolls his pants up. But if you hear a story and you hear kind of how he thinks about the game and how he approaches players and the relationship that he has with a player. Like I'll give you an example of a guy who's not coaching now, but I would have loved to have played for him. So Mike Holmgren was he wasn't necessary. He was tough on guys. He was a tough-minded coach. And yet he made this statement, and I'm just like, man, that's the kind of coach. He goes, and he told Brett Favre, he says, you and I we're together. Like, because Brett Favre he wasn't the prototypical West Coast offense quarterback. He was not this precision. He kind of did it the Brett Favre way, and it was unconventional, but man, he got results, and he.
It was rough around the edges.
It was not. Yeah. It was not smooth and pretty, and it wasn't Joe Montana-ish, but it worked, right? And so, but it was the commitment, no matter what, that Mike Holmgren had to Brett Favre, and he just says, "Look, we're going down together, like we're in this together," and that's really, to me, to start with, the kind of coach that I would really enjoy playing for. And I played for some coaches that were great, and I played for some that I would not want to play for ever again. It was a challenging situation, but so in this list, some of them are kind of challenging, but off the top of my head, like I can go to the old guys, right?
Yeah.
So you have like Sean Payton. Sean Payton to me would be, because I played quarterback. He would be like at the top of my list. I mean, if Sean Payton and Andy Reid are like absolutely, for me, the top of the list. It's when I grew up in Utah County. I'm related to Lavelle Edwards, and I was a big BYU fan growing up, and a big fan of Lavelle's. And I had this really, really strong conviction that I should go to the University of Utah, and it was a very personal decision, and one that I never regretted, and it was a great thing for me. But one thing I would have loved to have done in my life is to have been coached by Lavelle, because he was just a great coach, and so it's kind of the same thing with Andy Reid. If you could have one of those moments, I'd love to just say, okay, Andy Reid, just do with me what you do with Patrick Mahomes, and it would just be fun to be in an offense with Andy Reid.
It's interesting because he's famously on Mike Holmgren's staff
right.
in Green Bay too, so it's interesting. And Holmgren, I believe, had the BYU ties as well, right? Or maybe not.
Mike Holmgren actually recruited me when I was in high school. He was the quarterback coach at BYU.
Okay, yeah, that's right. So it's interesting that your three they either were all on the same coaching staff and kind of came from the same came from that Lavelle coaching tree, and either directly or indirectly.
Yeah. So then so that of like the kind of older guys, and then there's some guys like a guy that I don't know, because I'm also looking at their philosophy. Like I want offensive minded coaches.
Yeah, of course.
So any defensive minded coach, I'm not in love with, right? So
Rex Ryan's not a current coach, but you're out on Rex.
But I do like Rex Ryan.
Okay,
and I was actually on a team, the Baltimore Ravens, when he was a coach.
Oh, was he there when you were at the Ravens?
He was a defensive line coach. And there's he's just a personality, and so I like personalities. Now Brian Billick, who everyone thought was I personally didn't see it, but he's a guy that I wouldn't want to play for, and he was an offensive minded coach, and a guy that I played for. But so here's some new ones, right? So you have Ben Johnson. um, or Dave Canales. It's like you go Ben Johnson. You know, he was like I probably would want to play for Ben Johnson.
Yeah,
but he's new, and the same thing with Kellen Moore, right? You go, oh man, Kellen Moore, I could really play for Kellen Moore, I think, because you don't know if they're you even though they're offensive, you still want them to be good coaches, right?
You know that they're, in the case of Kellen Moore and Ben Johnson especially, you know that they're great offensive coordinators. You don't know how they are as head coaches yet.
Now, a guy like Dan Campbell in Detroit, I'm like, yes, because anyone who says, you know, half a butt cheek and 3 fingers, you don't want to play for that guy.
Well, and he's
like, that's just a guy. He's just off the wall. But he seems like he's a really genuine, very, very passionate guy about what he's doing.
It's interesting. You talked about Brett Favre's style as a quarterback. It just was, you could see the passion he had for the game. It's the same way with Dan Campbell as a coach. They're kind of cut from the same cloth that way.
See, and Matt LaFleur.
Yeah. What do you think?
I say yes.
Yeah.
A very offensive-minded guy. I thought he's done a pretty good job in Green Bay. Again, he's still one of those. There's just a whole stretch of these guys that are. It's almost, you almost feel like they're all cut out of the same mold.
Yeah.
You know, you have these old guys and they're distinguished. You know, they've really set themselves apart. And the guy who's kind of upped his game is Nick Sirianni, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And the players love him. And
talk about another guy with passion too, by the way.
And he's another one that when he got hired, I would have said, "Huh?" Like his press conference, I remember listening to that, and he goes, "We have players and we have systems, and we're going to do these." Like it made no sense, and I just go, "This guy is going to just get destroyed in Philadelphia," and he is really, turned out to be, really good. A lot like Mike McDaniel, and maybe even more. I mean, he's been to a couple of Super Bowls and won one. Mike Tomlin is definitely a guy I want to play for. Like, there's just a
defensive minded.
Even though he's defensive minded, he's one of those guys. Like, now Kyle Shanahan,
oh really?
I don't know. I know there's a vibe about Kyle Shanahan to me, and it's an entitled, whiny vibe. Like, if it doesn't go your way, I can
actually see what you're talking about.
You know, it's just like, and so I don't know.
You're right. It's almost like just the look on his face. It's almost like we talked about Jay Cutler when he was playing. Just never had a good look on his face.
Yes.
And Kyle Shanahan,
yes,
not quite as bad as Jay Cutler's face was, but still, he has that bit of whiny look on his face.
So the last one that I think is interesting.
All due respect, of course.
Yeah, of course. is Dan Quinn. And Dan Quinn, what he's done with the Washington Commanders, and really what he's
Falcons
done in his
before
career.
That,
And he's you could almost argue that he's a defensive-minded coach, but Jaden Daniels, wow, that is just special. I like Dan Quinn.
He knows who to hire as his offensive coordinators. That's one of the things as an offensive player you got to appreciate.
And we'll let them do their thing. Mike Vrabel, no, and I like Mike Vrabel, but. No, no? Brian Daboll, probably out the door. Aaron Glenn, I just not my thing yet. All right, let's take a break, and we'll come back again. Do a little crosstalk leading up to the drive with Spence Checketts, and a little topical trivia to end out the show here. Fun conversation though about coaches and styles, and I could probably talk about this for about a week, but good stuff. All right. This is the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 792.1 FM. We'll be back. Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. It is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM, Utah's number one sports talk and home of the Utes. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Sean. He will be back tomorrow. It's been a lot of fun. I also do a show here on ESPN 792.1 from 10 to 11. It's called The Down and Dirty. I also do it on 103.9, 98.3 ESPN The Fan from 1 to 2. Of course, you can catch that show just like this one. You can get live streaming. So listen live on the ESPN700sports.com, the ESPN 700 app. You can go to your smart speaker and tell it to play ESPN 700. Also on the YouTube, ESPN 700 Sports Utah, at ESPN 700 Sports Utah on YouTube, and anywhere you get your podcast. Okay, topical trivia. Of course, we're going to give you the question. You call in. You get 2 tickets to Volbeat July 19th at U First Credit Union Amphitheater. So call us now. Here's the question. We had Coach Gordy Chiesa on earlier, and he had a list. And he was talking about the all-time NBA three-point leaders. A fascinating name, not Larry Bird, won the three-point contest forever in the NBA, but he's not one of the top 10 all-time players.
And still considered one of the greatest shooters of all time. Just the three was so new back then, and I think Gordy explained it, Scott, when he did this list. It was only it was actually his rookie year in the NBA. He and Magic's rookie year was the first year of the three-point line. So it just wasn't emphasized. So
very interesting list. But here's the question. All right. Who is the Utah Jazz all-time three-point leader? That is the trivia question. Call in now if you know that answer. That was from our Gordy Chiesa segment. The Utah Jazz all-time three-point leader.
Yeah, 877-353-0700, the number for you, if you have the correct answer to that question.
877-353-0700 is the number. This segment of our show is brought to you by Burt Brothers Spring Into Savings. Get your car ready for the season with $69 tires, $50 off service tickets, and $79 alignments with purchases of 2 or more tires. Don't wait. These deals won't last. Stop by your nearest Burt Brothers today. Burt Brothers does it better. Interesting thing happening this week in sports, and it is the Players' Championship is actually going to happen this week. It'll start here in a couple of days. And a lot of people actually think that it should be one of the
majors.
One of the majors. They've rearranged the tournament schedule, which I really like. I like how they readjusted it. They brought the PGA, which they play in May, and so they have a major kind of, there's April, May, June, and July, right?
Yeah, 4 months in a row.
And March is of course the Players, right? So it's just March, April, May, June, and July, and there's some big tournament in at least in one of those months. And of course the Ryder Cup is this year.
Yeah.
Which I love the Ryder Cup. It's at Bethpage, and man, is that going to be exciting, because right now we're at angst with the rest of the world. Like we're not even getting along with Canada, which is kind of like your Labrador Retriever. Canada is one of those countries that is really likable, and we don't even like each other right now.
Yeah. So it should make the Ryder Cup interesting.
So the Ryder Cup is going to be an extremely interesting event this year. Really can't wait to watch it. And I'm a big fan of golf, and of course we have events that are coming here to Utah as well, and LPGA event, and then the PGA Tour at the
Black Desert. Have you been down there yet to golf?
It's absolutely beautiful. It is just an absolutely wonderful place to be.
I haven't had a chance to yet, but watching that event on TV last year, it was incredible, because I'm a St. George boy.
Yes.
I grew up in St. George. It was incredible to see my hometown and the red rocks and all the lava rock and in that part of the area down there just showcased on national TV. Like, it's incredible to see that for the first time, because that's never happened. That getting that kind of a platform. So I definitely want to get out there.
So sports, we love to cover it. We love to talk about it. We love to be a part of it. And it's really exciting here in the state of Utah how it just continues to grow and be such a big part of our lives here. So we really are blessed to be a part of it. We talk about golf, and we have hockey and of course basketball, and we've got 2 of our top college programs are in a Power 4 conference, and they're rivals, and so it's just really good. And then you're going to have the Olympics, and there's talk of Major League Baseball, and so we like to be a part of sports every day. We are big, passionate believers in it. We really want to thank everyone who listened to the show today. Really enjoyed filling in for Sean. Thank you, James, for all your help the last couple of days, and thanks to everyone for tuning in. Sports is an awesome part of our society, and for so many great reasons, and there's a lot to celebrate about it, so it's fun to be here. Anyways, thank you all, and it's time for Spence Checketts in the Drive here, coming up in just a few minutes. You're listening to the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Until then, we'll